So how many, you said there's 100 and some
Well, yes,
affiliates and?
I got off trail there. There's 117 cities throughout America that can hear either Way FM, like you can hear in Vancouver, or a version of Way FM, because other stations will pull down our programming off satellite and feed their own, brand it their own way for their own city. Way FM, our nonprofit, actually owns and operates 20 full power stations and another 20 to 30 repeaters in smaller cities where we wouldn't be able to really have a local staff or local DJs in that city, but people still have the benefit of hearing a nearby station. For example, like in Tennessee, for example, we have a big station in Nashville, but if you're in Chattanooga, which is also a nice sized town, you can hear Way FM, but you're just, you know, there isn't the local traffic and the local weather that's being inserted there. I mean, someday, I mean, if, you know, if God chooses to bless this work, you know, we would love to see offshoots of this in Eugene and Salem and other places, you know, around Portland that would be able to have the same kind of benefit.
So that original heart that you had to reach the next generation is still, that's just as passionate with you now as when you first started this.
Yeah.
So you're still interested to continue to grow the network that the people across our nation can hear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all listener supported?
Yes, it is.
In other words, it's not a commercial.
Well, commercial businesses can play a role in Way FM, but it's always about a smaller role. Generally, the support at a local Way FM station generally comes from 70% from listeners who contribute, and we will have typically 2 pledge drives a year where we would set aside 2 or 3 days and open phone lines and ask people, if you believe in what we're trying to do in this area, you know, would you consider a monthly gift or a one-time single gift? And so that generally represents about 70% of how we stay on the air in each of the cities. The other 30% does come from businesses who generally don't do it you know, just to see their phone ring off the hook, but they do it because they do see the impact we're having in the community and they want to partner with us. And yes, there is a side benefit that they will get mentioned on the air. If they own a hardware store, or they own a furniture store, you know, they can hear announcements on Way FM, but the emphasis is on the donors, the listener support.
So even in this area, if some businesses wanted to be able to help sponsor, they could participate in this station as well?
Absolutely, they sure could, yep. And we would promote them throughout the area, and you know, we would be able to share, you know, what kind of product or services they offer.
And how would they contact, who would they contact in order to make those arrangements?
Well, we're going to have a guest on in a few minutes who will tell us all about that.
Yes, yes, I'm looking forward to that.
I might give the wrong website out.
Very safe. Now, Way FM used to be located north of here. We could receive the signal quite well here in Vancouver, Washington. And that was what, 102.3 FM, was it?
It was, yes, 102.3 was a repeater here, but the Longview, Washington station was at 90.3 at the time.
And there was a time when there was no signal in this area. What happened, and what's the story that unfolded that brought this back?
Well, we found it much more difficult because our original plant here in the Northwest was in 2003, and it was in Longview, Washington. And it was, the station there was owned by a church. It was KZOE was the name of the radio station. And it was owned by a church in Longview, and they saw what Way FM was doing. They wanted to partner with us. They felt like, as a church, they really needed to step aside from owning the station, and they asked us if we would take it over, and so we did. And we gave it a really good run in Longview, but the economy in Longview, Kelso, was as such that it was very difficult. And eventually it just became almost impossible to maintain a local staff and a full power radio station in a town that's much smaller than obviously Vancouver, Portland. And because the Longview, Kelso area, the population was just a fraction of what it is up in this area now, in Portland area, that we just weren't able to sustain the station any longer by listener donations.
So how long did Way FM operate that station?
That was on the air for 5.5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there was about a year and a half where we had no presence here, and you know, some folks started contacting us and asked us to, you know, to re-examine the possibility of maybe bringing the station further south where more people live. And we started researching it and discovered that there was an open opportunity here on 104.5. No other opportunity existed. It was the only FM spot that we could land on. And so we grabbed it, and we're still a baby, just 6 weeks old. You know,
which is great. I love to see little babies have a future and grow. So you just happen to have 104.5 available. Normally, aren't available stations or available frequencies, channels, they're kind of uncommon, aren't they, in populated areas?
Yeah, they really are. This has got a unique story attached to it. This frequency here used to be quite a bit further away from Portland. I can't even remember the name of the community it was, but we were able to file for it years ago, and it took us 4 or 5 years to keep step by step moving it in closer to Portland, until eventually, just as of 6 or 8 months ago, we were able to put it right in the middle of the town.
Which is great.
So it's on the KGW television tower, which is right, KGW TV in Portland, right by downtown, where all those towers are situated on that hill above downtown. So.
And if I understand correctly, as people head out Route 26, they look to the right over by the zoo, and they'll see this dual fork top tower, and that is, what is that, Sunset Highway or Sunset Hill is where that radiates. So how's the signal get from here to there?
Well, we use phone line T1 kind of circuits to be able to connect from our Vancouver location here at US Digital to get it to that probably 10, 12 miles away. There are just a few ways you can connect a studio to a transmitter where the tower is, and more lately, and with the microwave spectrum, and I'm getting too technical already, but that's gotten there's not any availabilities there, so we're using a private internet stream to get the station over there.